Hey guys, welcome back to it's Friday again. Not only is this Friday significant because it seems like around here fall's blowing in, so the weather has definitely changed. I think it's dropped around 20 degrees here, but we are moving to Florida, so we're packing up. Things have been a little bit crazy around here, so my venue will definitely change next time because I will absolutely not be in this room again, so it won't be such a boring wall. Okay. Last week we talked a little bit about zones and a little bit about why some zones are important. And if you missed the call and you're interested in what our calls are like for our Superfly community, we recorded the one I just did last Tuesday. It was about an hour and 10 minutes long. I got really in depth in all the zones and why they all do what they do and all of the reasons why you need to know what each zone is for. So if you're interested in getting a free recording of that, just Facebook message me or go to superflycoaching.com and email us and just let us know that you're interested in checking out that webinar. It's about an hour long and it's my gift to you guys, early Christmas. Now, what do you do with those zones? And I know that this is the time of year where a lot of people are kind of scratching their heads. What is it that we should be focusing on and what is it that we should be doing? And this is also the time of year a lot of people start doing things like the FTP challenge or they're trying to increase their FTP. I will warn you that I want to say I think it's a little bit early for that kind of stuff. I would really start working on higher end power first or higher end speed and economy type stuff, and also try to keep in mind that the body can only absorb so many modalities at the same time. So if you're trying to do really hard stuff and tempo stuff and endurance stuff and strength stuff, your body gets confused and it literally can't absorb everything. So you really want to make sure you're picking out one or two things that complement each other. And if you're ever curious about which those are, let me know. I can always help guide you. But there's also really some specific parameters for what proximity those workouts should take in approximation to each other. So like here's this tip nobody really knows. If you do a long endurance day and then the next day you do something really hard, you can negate up to 65% of the benefits that you did from the endurance day. So sometimes people train really hard and just aren't getting the benefits of it because they're not doing them in the right proximity to each other. Okay, so based on the post, I said most people will find that their legs give out far before their cardiovascular does. And that's not always the case, but a lot of the times it is. And I think a lot of people can imagine the last time they were running or they were biking and they felt like their breathing was relatively fine, but their legs just wouldn't push any harder. And so that's because you're getting muscularly fatigued. So you can work on muscular fatigue or preventing muscular fatigue in a couple of different ways. One is by obviously working hard at that specific correct zone, which would be the top of your 4 zone, right before your 5A zone. And the other that I think is commonly overlooked is your pace recognition. So I'm going to talk about 2 workouts that I like to use throughout the off season with some of my athletes, depending on where they are in their schedule. And I do this myself a lot too. And one is my favorite swims. So hopefully nobody's watching because, no, I'm kidding. But so let's start with the swim. The biggest thing that I recognize with swimming is I'll usually swim in one of the faster lanes in masters or groups, but it seems like the slower lanes always warm up way faster than we do. And it's almost like their warm-ups are their fastest sets. And so pace recognition, especially in the swim, is so important, and clock management. And I'm not teasing you if you wear a Garmin, but if you're wearing a Garmin in the swim and you're relying on that to let you know how your swimming speed's going, you're not going to be efficient because you're going to have to stop and look at the Garmin. Get good at looking at the pace clock. Get good at being able to check it out of the corner of your eye as you're coming into the wall and recognize where the second hand is, or hopefully you have a really cool digital clock that you can see. And if you can catch any pace that you're off or missteps early, it will pay dividends later. And so a lot of times I used to play games with myself to see how easy I could make swimming feel and actually still be swimming pretty fast for a long period of time. So as promised, one of the workouts that I love to do is I'll do sets of 100s in groups of 4, and I'll start at an interval. Let me step back for a second. T-pace, I'm going to define as a pace that you could sustain for about a 1500 straight, or your race pace, okay? So going back to the workout, I would do groups of 4. I would start at a pace that was about 30 to 45 seconds slower than my T-pace. So, and depending on how long you want to make the set, you can start it closer to your T pace, or you can start it further out, or you can change it up by doing groups of 5, or you could do groups of 3. It's up to you. You can play with that however you'd like. But the goal is to drop 5 seconds after every group without regrouping. So for example, let's just keep this really simple. Let's say you're starting on the 2 minutes. After 4, on number 5, so you leave on the 4th one on 2 minutes, and number 5, it's on 1:55. There's no resting an extra minute in between. So you have to get really good at pace clock management. The whole set rolls. So play around with this, because I've found, ironically, sometimes when I start out really, really easy, it's sometimes harder for me to speed up towards the end. And sometimes when I start out a little bit more solid, I can actually hold that deeper into the sets. And so I'll have goals for myself to see how deep I can get into the sets and how far past I can get past my T pace. And, you can play with it as many times, different ways you want. Like you can say, okay, this is going to be tough for me to do today. I'm going to throw paddles on or something like that. But it's a great baseline set to teach you pace recognition, to get you to try different things and start taking inventory of how your arms feel and how your breathing feels and how your body feels as you start, so that you can start to learn to immediately recognize those feelings. And you can remember that when you swim your open water race, when you have no pace clock around, no idea of how fast you're swimming other than your own intuition, which is huge. A lot of reasons why people don't swim as well in races as they do in the pool is because they're not getting that immediate feedback, because they're left up to their own intuition. So that's my swim tip for the week. My bike tip is, if you really want to work on your FTP, the first thing, and we talked about last week about putting the heart rate and the power together, because remember, heart rate is going into the machine and what you produce is coming out, which is your power, right? Speed is a terrible indication of how well you're doing. And I tease, I can't remember if I said this last week, because if I wanted to make you faster and all I had to do, or if I wanted to make you more fit and all I had to do was make you faster, I would just put you at the top of the hill and send you down, and I would have done a great job as a coach. So you want to always look at that ratio of how many heart rates am I putting in, and for those heart rate, excuse me, what am I getting out for power in terms of wattage? So you have to have an accurate FTP test or heart lactate threshold. That's your zone 5A, where your lactate threshold is. That's where it starts. Now, you should have a corresponding current FTP power relative to that. So remember, that's your date pace. Now, by definition, we want to get stronger, right? So we want to be able to put out more power for every heart rate. So now, depending on how new you are, if you're very experienced, I would maybe do less percentage. If you're very new, you might be able to do 7 to 8%. You could start there. And so you want to shoot for a wattage that's higher than your current watts. And the rule is they're open-ended intervals. So you're going to warm up 10 or 15 minutes, maybe even do a couple short sprints, make sure that your heart rate's been worked for a little bit before you start. But then you're going to start an open-ended workout or an open-ended interval at your new goal output. And you have to keep going at that until your heart rate reaches your 5A zone. So you're not allowed to go above your lactate threshold, okay? As soon as you reach that, you start to recover, and your recovery is 2 minutes. And you continue to do intervals until you can no longer do at least 3 minutes, or until you've accumulated approximately 40 minutes of output time. So if you start out and you're able to do 25 minutes at the new power zone, you probably need to try to up it next time. So I would say a good place to start might be 10, 12, 15 minutes, somewhere in there, depending on how much you want to push yourself. And if you find that you immediately drop into that 3-minute zone and you can't complete it, there's some tweaking in there. And so that's my bike workout that I would recommend people to give a try to. It's better than it's just as good or better than any types of intervals that you can be doing. It's super effective. It's kind of motivating because it's a little race against yourself, and plug up some good tunes, go for it. I'm excited to hear how it works out for you girls and guys, and I'll talk to you guys next week. Oh, again, don't forget, if you want a copy of that call, just email us, or we're going to be doing more every other week in the Superfly community, which you're welcome to join. Love to see you all out there. Talk to you. Bye.